Millionaire destroyed the house of a debt-ridden old man and discovered a childhood photo of himself. The 38th floor office of Bennett Real Estate Group felt frozen by the presence of one man, Lucas Bennett. At just 29, he was already the CEO of one of the most notorious real estate conglomerates in the United States. His white shirt was crisp without a single wrinkle, black tie perfectly knotted, eyes as cold as steel fixed on the planning map of the Golden Gate Estates project, a luxury megacity set to bulldoze the last remaining slum in the outskirts. Except for house number 17, everything has been cleared, said his personal assistant, Lucy Moore, trying to steady her voice as she stood facing the powerful man. Number 17. Lucas frowned, eyes never leaving the screen. That's the old man Franklin's place. Yes, he still refuses to sign the land transfer papers. Lucas spun his chair around. His chin lifted slightly, eyes glinting with contempt. Why? He said, it's the house of his wife and daughter. He's just asking for a few more days to pack up and leave in peace. Lucas let out a laugh void of humor, emotionless. He stood, walked slowly toward the window, looking down at the slum as if studying a stain on the marble floor. A few days. Do you know how much one day's delay costs, Lucy? Lucy swallowed hard. Around $300,000, because of the delay with Bechtel Construction. Lucas spun back, striding to the desk, grabbing a pen. A day is money. An hour is money. An old man clinging to some damn memory isn't worth $1. Lucy said softly, but, he's really old. And he seems sick. Lucas put the pen down and stared directly into her eyes. He won't live much longer anyway. And if he dies there, even better. Saves us the negotiation. Lucy stayed silent. She knew protesting would only get her fired. Lucas signed the eviction order. The ink hadn't even dried when he tossed the paper onto her desk. Demolish it tomorrow. Bulldozers there early. Wipe that parasite of poverty off the map before 7 a.m. He turned and walked toward the door. I'll be there in person. I want to witness the end of this story myself. Lucy stood frozen, hands clenching the demolition order. Lucas never looked back. On his way home, inside a sleek black Mercedes, Lucas opened his phone and quickly called the site supervisor. Mr. Alexander, prepare the bulldozers for tomorrow morning. I want that house gone in 30 minutes. A hesitant voice answered on the other end, Mr. Bennett, the workers don't really want to touch that house. They say Mr. Franklin is a good man. Everyone knows he used to be a carpenter, helped repair homes for the whole neighborhood. Lucas cut him off. Good men should know when to give up. I pay you to demolish, not to run a charity. If you can't do it, I'll replace you. Alexander sighed. Understood. I'll get it done. Lucas hung up. He didn't care about names, stories, or tears. To him, they were just fragments in the way of success. That evening, in a penthouse vast as a museum, Lucas opened a bottle of red wine, turned on classical music, and reclined in his armchair. Beethoven's Symphony No. 5 echoed urgent, somber. On the table was a 3D model of Golden Gate Estates complete with an ecological park, 5-floor shopping mall, and lakeside hotel. He picked up the tiny model piece where House 17 had been and threw it to the floor. Goodbye, rotten past. The next morning, before the sun had fully risen, Lucas was already at the site. Bulldozers stood ready. The workers were silent, their eyes tense. Lucy was there too, looking anxious. Mr. Franklin stood in front of his shabby home, clutching an old, faded photo frame of his wife Anna and a little girl. Lucas stepped out of the car, hands in pockets, smirking. Still here, old man? How much longer do you think you can stall me? Franklin didn't look at him. He pressed the frame to his chest, eyes red. You know, this is where my wife took her last breath. Where my daughter died, and where my granddaughter disappeared without a trace. Lucas folded his arms, shaking his head. Your fault you didn't hold on to them. The world doesn't wait for anyone. The weak get swept away. A young worker named Daniel stepped forward and said softly, Mr. Bennett, maybe give him one more day. Lucas barked, demolish it. Daniel stood still, looking at Franklin, then at his co-workers. No one moved. Lucas pulled out his phone, pretending to record. If you don't move, I'll post this video to show how you're delaying a billion-dollar project. Alexander, standing nearby, sighed. I'm sorry, Mr. Franklin. The bulldozer engines roared to life. Franklin looked up, crying out, no. I'm begging you. This is the only memory I have left. The crash came as a piece of roof caved in, sending wood dust flying. A large beam struck his shoulder. He stumbled and fell, his head hitting the ground hard. Mr. Franklin! Daniel shouted, rushing to him. Lucas didn't flinch. He turned toward the car, coldly glancing back. He chose to stand there. No one made him. Lucy called after him, we should call an ambulance. No. Don't let the press get hospital photos. When it's done, shut it down. The car door slammed shut, muffling all sound from the outside. The sun rose higher, shining down on the rubble where once stood the home of a father, a grandfather. Inside a glossy car speeding away, a young man had just destroyed not only a house, but perhaps the very past he never understood. Bulldozer engines thundered through the early morning haze. The scent of gasoline, crumbling concrete, and rotting wood filled the air heavy like the final breath of a dying memory. Mr. Franklin, his back hunched, legs trembling, still stood there, blocking the wooden doorway about to be demolished. In his hand, the old frame, its glass cracked. In the photo, his wife Helen smiled, holding their daughter Anna, and a tiny child with big, bright eyes and a radiant grin. This is my home, he murmured like a prayer. I hammered every nail, every floorboard. This is where Anna took her first steps. Where we sang lullabies to her every night. Lucy Moore stepped closer, construction map in hand, and whispered, Mr. Franklin, please, just step back a few feet. You're in danger. He shook his head, not looking at her. His eyes fixed on the door, fingers brushing the faded wood. Danger is when your heart no longer knows how to love. Girl, have you ever lost a child? Lucy swallowed hard, silent. Behind her, Lucas Bennett had just stepped out again, his polished shoes crunching the gravel like stepping on snake bones. How long do you think you can stop me? Lucas said, voice flat like a pre-written sentence. Franklin turned. His eyes no longer held fear, only a smoldering pain turned to fire. He raised the photo. This is my daughter Anna. And that baby, that's my granddaughter. She vanished when she was 3. I searched every orphanage. No trace. Lucas frowned. So what? I'm not a missing child detective. That house means nothing. Just land. Value isn't a number on a contract. Franklin shouted, voice cracking with sorrow. You've never lost a child in your arms. You've never had to choose between food and medicine for your dying daughter after a work accident. Lucas cut in, scoffing, I've never been poor. That's why I succeed. Unlike you. Daniel, the young worker, stepped toward Alexander, the supervisor, and tugged at his sleeve. Alexander, are you sure? He sounds like a dying man. Did you see how his hands tremble? Alexander frowned. I know. But the deadline's tight. If we don't finish in 72 hours, our partners pull out. Lucas snapped, why is everyone standing around? I said, demolish it. An older worker named Ethan hesitated. Mr. Bennett, my daughter once learned wood carving from Mr. Franklin. He's not trying to stop anything. He's just, in pain. Lucas shot him a glare like a knife. Say one more word and you're fired. No one said another word. Franklin stepped back, looking up at the sky. His voice dropped. Helen, Anna, if you're looking down, please forgive your father. I couldn't keep the house. But I kept the memories. Every brick, every laugh of you two. The engine roared. Daniel turned his face away. Ethan closed his eyes. Lucy clenched her fists. A sharp crack rang out like a breaking bone. The old wooden roof split in two. A large chunk fell directly onto Franklin's left shoulder. Oh God! Daniel screamed, rushing forward, but it was too late. Franklin collapsed. His head struck a protruding brick. Blood gushed out, soaking the dark soil. Lucy screamed, "Call an ambulance." Now. Lucas remained cold. He stepped over the rubble, looking at the old man's body as if it were trash in the street. I told you he chose this. No one told him to stand there. Daniel held Franklin's head, his hands trembling. Sir, can you hear me? Please, don't close your eyes. Franklin opened his eyes for a brief second, whispering, Lucas, little, blue shirt. Lucas froze for a moment. Then shook his head and turned away. Lucy yelled, we have to get him to a hospital. I'll call a taxi. No, Lucas turned back, voice firm. The moment there's an accident on site, the press will go crazy. You want images of Bennett Group covered in blood? Lucy hissed through her teeth, you're a bastard. Lucas didn't react. He stepped into the car. Daniel stood up, his eyes blazing. Mr. Bennett, if he dies, I'll testify to the police. I swear. Lucas slammed the car door shut. His voice echoed from behind the sealed window, go ahead. Let's see who they believe, a nameless laborer, or Lucas Bennett. The car sped off. Exhaust smoke swept across Daniel's face. The smell of burning oil and blood melded into an unforgettable morning. On her way back, Lucy rode in a separate car, her face pale. She opened her phone and sent a message to her cousin, a doctor at the city hospital. Man critically injured. Don't ask. Send an ambulance to the old relocation zone, house number 17. She looked out the window and whispered, Dear God, have mercy on him. That evening, at the desk in his cold penthouse, Lucas stared at the project report without the slightest interest. The glass of red wine remained untouched. He opened his laptop and watched the video from the morning. Franklin's face, those bloodshot eyes appeared for a second and made him pause. The past, he repeated softly, like a breath. He deleted the video. No trace left behind. At Mercy General Hospital, Dr. Catherine Owens, Lucy's cousin, walked into the ER. Old man, subdural hematoma. Surviving this is a miracle. She looked at Lucy, her tone serious. This was a construction site accident. Lucy nodded, eyes red. Don't call the police. Please. Help me keep this quiet for a few days. He has no one left. If it turns into a legal case, he won't survive. Catherine sighed. I get it. But Lucy, you're stepping into something deep. On the hospital bed, Mr. Franklin lay motionless. Next to him was the cracked photo, now taped back together. Daniel sat slumped by the bed, his hands still stained with dried blood. I won't let them forget you, Mr. Franklin. I swear. That afternoon, heavy clouds blanketed the sky. The air was thick with dust, burnt wood, and construction debris. All that remained of house number 17 were a few charred beams, crumpled tin roofing, and weathered plywood scattered like bones. On the blackened earth, Daniel, the young worker, still hadn't left. His uniform was caked in mud, gloves on, digging through the rubble as if searching for the soul of the home crushed by a signature. Ethan, the older worker, approached with a water bottle. Daniel, it's 3 p.m. Take a break, son. I can't. Daniel shook his head. If anything's left, I want to return it to him. Mr. Franklin is still alive. Ethan sighed and placed the bottle beside him. You're young. You haven't learned that sometimes, what's lost can't be found. Daniel didn't respond. He bent down, lifting a burned wooden piece. A cracked photo frame fell from the gray dust. He touched it and froze. Ethan, look at this. The old man crouched beside him, gently wiping the shattered glass. The photo inside was singed in one corner, but clear enough to see, a young woman with wavy hair and gentle eyes, holding a small boy in front of a wooden house. Below the photo, in faded blue ink, was a handwritten caption. My sunshine. Ethan squinted. Lucas? It can't be. Is it him? Daniel asked, stunned. Lucas Bennett? Ethan nodded slowly. That kid's face, it's eerily familiar. Just then, a car pulled up at the end of the dirt road. The black Mercedes spotless, reflecting the gray sky. Lucas stepped out, hands still in his pockets, expression unchanged. But when his eyes scanned the wreckage, his face softened ever so slightly. Something in him faltered. Lucy hurried over. You came back. I thought you left the city. I don't like loose ends, Lucas replied flatly. And I don't want things left here to be stolen and sold online. Lucy tilted her head, surprised. You care about some discarded junk? Lucas didn't answer. He walked toward the burned wood pile. Daniel hesitated, then held out the frame. Mr. Bennett. I found this. I was going to keep it for Mr. Franklin. Lucas took it. His eyes passed over the image and then he froze. A chill ran down his spine. He looked at the woman's face. Those eyes. That smile. And the little boy in her arms, thin hair, big ears, deep dimples. That face was in hundreds of his childhood photos. It was him. No way, Lucas whispered, his hand trembling. Daniel stepped back. You know her. Lucas looked again at the caption. Lucas, my sunshine. His breath grew heavy. Images rushed back of a small wooden room, a young woman singing lullabies, running in the yard with red plastic sandals, a blue dress, blue like the ocean. Lucy stared at him, confused. Lucas. What is it? He clutched the photo tightly, afraid it might vanish. I don't know this woman. But I remember the smell of wood. And that color. I've seen it, in dreams. Ethan spoke up gently, maybe that dream wasn't a dream. Lucas looked up at him without disdain for the first time. What are you saying? Ethan replied slowly, Mr. Franklin once had a daughter named Anna. She died in a construction accident in 2000. That same year, his 3-year-old grandson vanished, no one knew where he went. There were rumors of a wealthy family adopting him. Daniel added, why do you think Mr. Franklin refused to leave? That was where his daughter died. And where his grandson disappeared. Lucas froze. His heart pounded. No, my parents said they adopted me from an orphanage in Springfield. I have documents. Ethan said calmly, papers can be forged. Memories cannot. Lucas clenched his hands until his knuckles turned white. He looked down at the photo again. Dust clung to it, but the woman's gaze still seemed to look at him sad, but full of love. Lucy whispered, Lucas, what are you going to do? He didn't answer right away. After a moment, he looked up, his eyes red. I need to be sure. Is there anything else under the floor of the house? A box, a letter, documents, anything? Daniel shook his head. We only cleared the surface. The old cement base is still intact. But maybe. Lucas turned to Alexander, who had just arrived. Get me tools. I'll dig myself. Alexander blinked. Mr. Bennett? You. Lucas snapped, give me a shovel. Or I'll fire the entire crew. Minutes later, under the stunned gazes of the workers, Lucas knelt in the ashes, hands gripping the shovel, digging into the old wooden floorboards. Every strike was like a blow to his chaotic mind. Lucy ran to him. Lucas, your hands are bleeding. Stop. No, he gasped. If I don't know the truth. I don't know who I am. His hands bled, but he kept digging through the dust, rotted wood, and small bricks. His eyes were wild, breath erratic. And then a faint click sounded. Lucas froze. He brushed away the thin layer of soil. Something metallic and rusted lay embedded in the ground, an old, dented tin box. Lucy knelt beside him, whispering, "Is it, from your mother?" Lucas said nothing. His hands trembled as he opened the lid. Inside. A crumpled birth certificate. Lucas Benson. Mother, Anna Benson. A handwritten letter, the ink small and slanted. If you're reading this, it means you found your way back. Even if I'm gone, you will always be the light of my life. Lucas sat down on the ground. A light rain began to fall. The drizzle turned into steady drops, soaking his hair, his clothes, and his bloodied hands. He remained seated in the charred foundation of the house, clutching the rusted tin box as if it were the last lifeline for a drowning man amidst the wreckage of his memories. Lucy knelt beside him, her hands shaking as she opened an umbrella over them. Lucas, it's raining. You can't stay here forever. Lucas didn't look up. His eyes were fixed on the tattered birth certificate, the ink smeared and faded. Lucas Benson. Mother, Anna Benson. He read it again and again, as if each reading peeled away another layer of the life he thought he knew. Benson, he repeated, lips dry. Not Bennett. Lucy gently touched his shoulder. That document could be forged. No. You can't fake the smell of old ink. You can't fake handwriting like this. Lucas held up the letter, the slanted, delicate script, like it was written in the dark, between despair and love. If you're reading this, it means you found your way back. Even if I'm gone, you will always be the light of my life. Light, Lucas whispered. It's the same as the line in the photo. Daniel approached, still wearing gloves. Sir, are you certain that woman is your mother? Lucas looked up. I'm not sure of anything anymore. But the name Anna Benson, I've heard it before. In dreams. I remember someone calling. Anna, come here. A woman's voice. So gentle. Ethan stepped forward, shielding himself with a burlap cloth. I knew Anna. She was a strong woman. She worked at the wood shop up north, the one where the ceiling collapsed in 2000. Lucy looked at Lucas. A workplace accident. Just like Mr. Franklin said. Lucas went silent. In his mind, shards of memory began falling into place: a worn wooden table, old radio music, the scent of baking, someone bending down to kiss his forehead. He suddenly stood up, still holding the tin box. The rain mixed with blood streaming from his hand. Lucy cried out, your hand. Lucas, it needs bandaging. No. I need to go to the mansion. I need answers. Every single lie. His voice was sharp. Daniel called after him, Mr. Bennett. You can't drive like that. Lucas spun around. How much longer am I, Bennett? An hour? A minute? Maybe I never was. Ethan walked up, placing a hand on his shoulder. Son, if you really are that child. Mr. Franklin has searched for you for 25 years. He went to every orphanage, every church. But they said your file had been withdrawn. By someone with power. Lucas clenched his fist. Someone with power, you mean my adoptive parents? Lucy lowered her head. They have influence. Your mother, Mrs. Carolyn, used to run fundraising campaigns for the Haven Grove Orphanage. Lucas looked around, voice breaking. So, they knew I wasn't theirs. They stole me. And expected me to be grateful for a better life? Ethan nodded. They gave you everything, except the truth. Lucas roared, the truth is the only thing I need. He turned and stumbled away. The rain pelted his face like slaps. Less than an hour later, Lucas pulled up in front of the Bennett mansion. The wrought iron gate opened automatically as the license plate was scanned. He stepped inside, heavy-footed, still clutching the tin box. Housekeeper Martha looked alarmed. Mr. Lucas? Your hand's bleeding. Get them down here. Both of them. Now. His eyes were burning red. Soon, Albert Bennett, founder of the company, descended the stairs holding a glass of whiskey. Carolyn Bennett followed, lipstick half applied. Albert frowned. What is it, Lucas? Who hurt you? Lucas slammed the tin box onto the table. No one hurt me. But someone did ruin my life 25 years ago. Carolyn rushed over. Dear God, you're injured. Let me call a doctor. Don't call anyone. Lucas shouted. I want the truth. Who am I? Whose son am I? And why was I handed over to you like stolen merchandise? Albert set his glass down, speaking slowly, watch your mouth. This is your home. Lucas pulled out the birth certificate and threw it on the table. No. This isn't my home. It's the house of people who stole me from my real mother. Carolyn snatched the paper and scanned it. Her eyes widened. Where did this come from? From the ashes of the house I ordered demolished this morning, Lucas replied coldly. Where Mr. Franklin, my grandfather, was injured because he refused to leave. Albert was silent for a moment. Then he stepped closer, eyes sharp like a blade. Listen carefully. I pulled you out of the gutter and put you on top. Without me, you'd still be picking through trash. I made you, Lucas. You're my creation. Lucas gave a hollow laugh, tears in his eyes. You didn't create me. Anna Benson did, with blood, tears, and my real name. Carolyn broke in, voice laced with fake emotion. Lucas, I just wanted you to have a good life. Anna was drowning in debt. She died in that accident from exhaustion. And that old man, he had nothing to raise a child with. Lucas screamed, but I had him. I had her. I had my name. And you stole all of it. And called that, salvation. Albert growled, if you try to go public with this, I swear. I'll make the world think you've lost your mind. Who's going to believe a lunatic walking away from $1 billion empire for a scrap of a name? Lucas stood silent. For a moment, he looked at the man who had taught him to play chess, to be ruthless in business, and realized, it had never been love. It was ownership. He growled back, I will speak. Even if I'm alone. Even if they call me crazy. I will speak. The truth is the only thing I have left. He turned and walked away, leaving two people behind, one furious, one terrified. The rain outside hadn't stopped. The door of the Bennett mansion slammed shut behind Lucas. The sound echoed through the grand hallway like a declaration of irreversible severance. He stepped into the courtyard, the rain unrelenting, but he didn't bother to shield himself. Cold droplets lashed against his face, mingling with the tears he refused to show. Lucy had been waiting under the awning for how long, he didn't know. Are you, okay? She asked softly, holding a coat. Lucas gave a hollow smile. Okay. They just told me they made me like a robot. They never loved me. They only wanted to mold me into their ambition. She handed him the coat. You're shaking. Let's get in the car. Your hand still isn't bandaged. He nodded. They stepped into the car together. Lucas leaned his head against the window, staring at the backyard where he used to practice golf with Albert on strict, joyless Sunday mornings. "What will you do now?" Lucy asked gently. Lucas closed his eyes. "I don't know. I just know. I can't keep living as a fraud." The next day, Lucas left the mansion. Without a word. Without a single possession. His signature black Mercedes sat alone in the driveway. In its place, he now drove a beat-up pickup truck, the one Daniel had left him yesterday. He drove to Mercy General Hospital, the window slightly lowered. The morning breeze carried the faint scent of smoke from low-income neighborhoods, a smell he didn't remember, but one that felt familiar in his chest. At the neurology wing, Dr. Catherine Owens, Lucy's cousin, greeted him with a mix of surprise and caution. "You're the one who brought him in the other night?" Lucas nodded. "I need to see him. Now." Catherine hesitated. "Mr. Franklin is weak, but alert. He doesn't know anything about you yet." Lucas looked her in the eyes. "I want to tell him myself." Catherine led him to room 214. The door creaked open. Inside, Mr. Franklin lay quietly, his aged eyes staring at the ceiling. The cracked photo frame had been taped back together and now sat neatly on the bedside table. "You have a visitor," Catherine said softly, then stepped out. Lucas stood at the doorway for a long time. He couldn't breathe. His hand tightened over the bandaged wound, feeling as if one more step would make the world collapse beneath him. Finally, Mr. Franklin turned his head. His eyes met Lucas's, steady. 1 second. 2. Then the old man smiled faintly. "You're Lucas, aren't you?" Lucas nodded, eyes red. "Yes." A young man and an old man looked at each other, as if they were mirrors reflecting opposite lifetimes. Neither said anything for several minutes. Only the beeping of the heart monitor and the soft patter of rain outside the window filled the silence. Finally, Mr. Franklin spoke in a hoarse voice, "Why are you just standing there? Come closer. Sit with me." Lucas stepped forward, almost as if hypnotized. He pulled over a plastic chair and sat by the bed, unable to meet the old man's eyes. I'm sorry. I destroyed that house. I didn't know." "Shoo," Franklin raised a shaky hand and gently placed it on his. "If you hadn't destroyed it, you might never have known who you really are." Lucas bit his lip. "I don't remember anything. Just scattered images, the color blue, the smell of wood, a lullaby. Your mother, Anna, had a beautiful voice. She used to sing you 'Twinkle Twinkle Little Star' every night. You loved her blue dress so much, you'd cling to it and refuse to sleep." Lucas let out a choked laugh. "That dream, it was real." Franklin nodded, eyes brimming. "After Anna died, they took you away before I had a chance to sign any papers to keep you. I had no money. No lawyer. No power." Lucas clenched his hands. "And they adopted me, gave me education, and turned me into someone so cold I could stand there and watch my own grandfather get hurt without flinching. You didn't know. Don't punish yourself." "But I did." Silence. Then Lucas looked up. "I came to say sorry. But more than that. I came to say, I'm Lucas Benson. Not Bennett. I want to reclaim my real name. I want to reclaim you. If you'll still have me." Franklin burst into silent tears. He clutched Lucas's hand, his own trembling violently. "You're Anna's flesh and blood. The last light she left in this world. As long as you're here, her memory never died." Lucas lowered his head into his grandfather's hand. A soft knock came at the door. Lucy peeked in with a gentle smile. "I brought tea. Mr. Franklin likes chamomile." The old man smiled weakly. "Thank you, dear." Lucy set the tray down. "Should I step out?" Lucas shook his head. "Stay. You've seen everything. Franklin looked at them both. How long have you two known each other? Lucy blushed. We're just colleagues. But now, maybe family. Lucas smiled lightly. Yes. Family doesn't always share blood. Franklin closed his eyes, whispering, "Thank you, God. Anna, you left me the most precious thing in the world." That afternoon, Lucas signed the papers to officially renounce his inheritance from the Bennett estate, the legal documents delivered by Mark Gibson, an old friend of Franklin's. Mark looked at Lucas seriously. "You're sure? Once you sign, there's no going back." Lucas met his eyes. "There's nothing to go back to. I choose the truth." The hospital room was quiet, filled only with the steady beep of the heart monitor and the soft breeze flowing through the slightly cracked window. Outside, the sunset bathed the sky in crimson light. The last rays of the day cast a glow over the old, taped photo of three people, Anna, Franklin, and a little boy named Lucas, a boy now sitting at the bedside, his eyes no longer cold steel, but a stormy ocean. Lucas sat silently next to Franklin. Neither spoke for several minutes. No more tears. No more anger. Just the vast space between two generations broken by time. Franklin reached out and lightly touched his grandson's wrist. "You know, I once thought that if I could find you just once, even if you were already gone, I'd be able to die in peace." Lucas turned, voice raw. "So, what do you want now?" "I want to live a few more days. Just to see you. To believe that you truly came back." Lucas pulled the birth certificate from his coat pocket and unfolded it. "This paper, it's the only proof we have. No DNA test. No legal witness. Just belief." "And pain," Franklin said softly. Lucas nodded. "But I believe. For the first time in my life, I believe in something, without a signature, without a seal." The door opened gently. Lucy walked in with 2 cups of chamomile tea. "Hot tea. Be careful, Mr. Franklin." He smiled and nodded. "Thank you, dear. This girl, she's been visiting every day since I woke up." Lucas chuckled, taking the cup and placing it in Franklin's hand. "She's more devoted than a nurse." Lucy sat down, glancing briefly at Lucas. "Are you going to see them again? The Bennetts?" "No," Lucas replied shortly. "I sent an email formally cutting ties, with scanned documents. The only reply I got from him was one line, 'You'll regret this.'" Lucy nodded, unsurprised. "They're not used to losing control." Franklin sipped the tea. "Aren't you afraid, Lucas? Standing alone against such power?" Lucas turned to him, eyes steady. "I've never had anything that was truly mine. No parents. No relatives. Even my name was a lie. If I stay silent now, I'll forever be the shadow of a lie." Franklin looked at him for a long moment. Then, with all the strength left in his voice, he said, "You, truly are Anna's blood." Lucas froze. Franklin gripped his hand. "The first time I've spoken that word in over 25 years. Grandson." Lucas broke down, lowering his head. His voice cracked. "Don't say that. I can't bear it. You need to hear it. Not for me. For you." Lucy stood, stepping aside to give them space. She quietly turned to the window, tears streaming silently down her cheeks. Lucas looked up. "Are you angry with me? For ordering the demolition of your house?" Franklin chuckled faintly, though his eyes were misty. "No. I'm only angry at God, for not letting you learn the truth sooner. But if you hadn't destroyed that house, you'd never have dug up that box. And never come here." Lucas nodded, eyes red. "Truth found, in ashes. Like a phoenix. To truly live, the old self must burn away." The door opened again. Dr. Catherine Owen stepped in with a chart in hand. Sorry to interrupt. Just here to check on things. Franklin nodded. Go ahead, dear. Lucas stood, giving up his seat. Catherine placed the stethoscope, checked his pulse, then smiled gently. Vitals are stable. But you still need plenty of rest. There's still some minor brain bleeding. Avoid sudden movements. Franklin replied, if there's ever a day I needed to be alive, it's today. Catherine turned to Lucas. Thank you, too. If you hadn't called me that night, he wouldn't have made it. Lucas hesitated. I just did the right thing. For the first time. Catherine nodded, eyes warm. Doing the right thing always takes courage. After she left, Lucy returned and pulled her chair closer. We need to think about the next steps. We can't just wait for the Bennett's reaction. Lucas nodded. I already contacted Mark. He said if I want to go public, we'll need a solid case file. You want to go public? Lucy asked. Yes. They can't keep making fake Lucases. Can't keep using children as tools of power. Franklin nodded in agreement. Speaking up isn't just about reclaiming your name. It's about setting limits for people like them. Lucas went silent for a moment, then smiled faintly. I used to think the name Lucas Bennett was a crown. But now I see, it was just a gilded cage. Lucy softened her voice. And Lucas Benson, who is he? Lucas looked her in the eye. He's someone just beginning to live for real. Late in the afternoon, Lucas stood in the hospital corridor, phone pressed to his ear, calling his attorney Mark Gibson. Hello. It's me, he said. Lucas. Lucas Benson. Have you decided? Mark's voice was steady and low. Yes. I want to hold a press conference. Not a big one, just enough so that those who need to know will know. Both the media and the legal community. All right. I'll prepare the paperwork. Anne, are you ready for the consequences? Lucas took a breath. I've lost my reputation, my shares, my old family. But I've regained the one thing that's real, my identity. Mark replied, I'll be there. And if you need witnesses, I'll invite Dr. Catherine, Daniel, Ethan. Everyone who saw what happened that day. Lucas nodded firmly. Thank you, Uncle. That evening, at the hospital, Lucas opened the tin box again. This time, not in panic, but with a strange calm. He took out his mother's letter, reading each line without shedding a tear. Even if I'm gone, you will always be the light of my life. Lucas placed the letter into his coat pocket. He looked up and whispered, I'll live with honor, Mom. Even if it's late. I've found my way back. City Press Center, 10 a.m. A small conference room. No luxury, no opening music, no flashy LED screens. On the table sat only a microphone, a stack of documents, and a man with a proud but weary face, Lucas Benson. To his left sat attorney Mark Gibson, face stern, eyes unwavering. On his right, Lucy Moore, former assistant, now a true companion. In front of them, nearly 30 reporters from print, digital, television, and radio outlets. The air was heavy like lead. Cameras rolled. Lucas looked straight into the crowd. His voice wasn't loud, but every word cut like a blade. Good morning. My name is Lucas Benson. And today, I'm not here as the CEO of Bennett Real Estate Group, but as a man whose identity was stolen when he was just a child. A wave of murmurs rippled through the room. Cameras flashed rapidly. Mark pushed a folder forward. This is the original birth certificate, a handwritten letter from his biological mother Anna Benson, along with evidence of falsified adoption documents from the year 2000, orchestrated by Albert and Carolyn Bennett. A reporter raised her hand. Do you have any evidence proving the Bennetts did this for malicious purposes? Lucas responded without hesitation, I used to believe they saved me. But the truth is they never asked permission from any of my real relatives. My grandfather, Franklin Benson, is still alive and has testified. They stole me from a grieving, impoverished family and turned me into a tool for their ambition. Another journalist interjected, so what are you going to do with your entire estate? Your shares currently account for 42% of Bennett Group. Lucas calmly opened the second file, pulling out a notarized copy. This is my signed share relinquishment. I don't want an empire built on lies. I choose to walk away. Shock filled the room. One reporter whispered to another, this guy's walking away from over $800 million. Lucas heard it. He looked directly into the camera. I used to think power was the only thing worth keeping. I was wrong. I choose the truth even over living rich behind a mask. Under the table, Lucy squeezed his hand. She whispered, are you sure? He nodded. More than ever. At the same time, at the Bennett estate, Albert Bennett sat across from a TNBC News journalist, his face tight with suppressed anger. The reporter asked, are you aware that your son, Lucas Bennett, just held a press conference renouncing all shares and accusing you of stealing his identity? Albert sneered. That boy should thank me. Without me, he'd be nothing but a ragged orphan in a slum. But do you confirm or deny that the adoption documents may have been forged? I don't answer to stories built on weakness and betrayal. He's no longer my son. I owe nothing to someone who turns his back on family. The reporter cut the feed, exasperated. The cameraman whispered, he's done for. Hours later, Lucas's video spread across social media, from major TV networks to personal video platforms. The hashtag Lucas Benson hit national trending at #1 within 4 hours. In the comments sections, public opinion was sharply divided. What an idiot, throwing away his fortune over feelings. Not everyone dares to leave the spotlight and live truthfully. Respect. The Bennett family needs to be investigated. Children aren't commodities. At Mercy General Hospital, Franklin watched the press conference on a tablet Lucy handed him. His hands trembled as he swiped the screen. When he heard Lucas say, I choose to live with the truth, his eyes welled up. My grandson chose the hardest path. Lucy smiled softly. But the right one. That same afternoon, at Mark Gibson's office, Lucas signed the official name change documents. From Lucas Bennett to Lucas Benson. Mark tucked the papers into a file folder. The process will take a few weeks, but the media already knows your real name. From now on, you're no longer the ghost of the Bennett family. Lucas stood, shaking his hand. Thank you, Uncle. Thank you for believing in me even before I believed in myself. Mark smiled. You still have family. But now, you have to start from below zero. Lucas nodded. I'll start, from the ashes. That night, Lucas returned to the plot where the old house once stood. His car's headlights illuminated the flat ground. A temporary wooden board stood there, chalked with white. Here once lived Anna Benson, a strong woman, an eternal mother. Lucas knelt before it and placed the old photo frame on the ground. He murmured, I didn't choose wealth. I chose real love. The next morning, the Bennett Group board convened an emergency meeting. With Lucas stepping down, foreign investors immediately pulled out. The stock price plummeted. The Golden Gate Estates project was suspended indefinitely. A board member slammed the table, Albert, we warned you. Hiding an illegal adoption scandal could destroy this entire empire. Albert stood up, furious. We gave him everything. He should be grateful. The world no longer runs on old feudal gratitude, interjected a Korean director. We invested in reputation. Not your family. That evening, Lucas sat in the hospital room next to Mr. Franklin. The room felt warmer than ever. On the table was his mother's letter, now laminated for preservation. Are you planning to rebuild the house? Franklin asked. Lucas smiled. Yes. But not for the wood or the roof. For the memories. That house burned down once. But love doesn't burn. Lucas nodded. And the truth can't be bulldozed. Franklin nodded, eyes growing soft. You chose right. Even if you had to walk alone. Lucas whispered, I'm not alone. I have you. 3 months later. The once barren lot, once crushed by bulldozers, now held the shape of a new wooden house. No high-rise, no concrete, no steel, just pinewood, raw stone, open windows for breeze, and a small porch with pots of blooming geraniums. Lucas Benson sat on the front steps, sleeves rolled up, wearing old slacks, holding a cup of tea. Beside him, Mr. Franklin, white-haired, thin, but glowing as if he'd never been hospitalized. He took a sip, then looked at Lucas. You make tea just like Helen used to. Strong, with just a hint of honey. Lucas smiled. It's your recipe. But the way you stir, that's Anna's. Lucas gazed out toward the front yard. The small patio was paved with rough bricks, where Franklin had just replanted bougainvillea. I still can't picture her clearly. But every time you tell me about her, things get a little clearer. Franklin looked off into the distance. Anna always woke at 5. Cleaned the house before work. Some days she came home, your clothes covered in dust, but she never complained. Dinner always had cornbread. Lucas nodded gently. Yesterday I found an old skillet at a thrift shop. They said it was donated from the old slum. Maybe it was hers. Franklin smiled, eyes misting. We don't need to keep everything. Just a few pieces. And remember. Lucy stepped out from the house, holding a tablecloth. Everyone stay seated, lunch is almost ready. Guess what's special today? Lucas winked. Pumpkin soup. But not the restaurant kind. Your grandpa's recipe. Franklin chuckled. Careful, girl. He puts a lot of pepper in it. It'll make your eyes water. Lucy laughed out loud. Well, at least these tears are from happiness. All 3 of them laughed. A real laugh. No tension, no need to maintain an image for the media. Just 3 people sitting on a porch, talking about old things that warmed the heart. On the front wooden door, a photo had been neatly framed, Anna holding 3-year-old Lucas in front of the old house. Below the frame, a carved inscription read. Mr. Franklin's home. That afternoon, while Mr. Franklin napped, Lucas and Lucy painted the new nameplate for the front gate. Lucy crouched down, wiping away dust. I still can't believe you're here. In work clothes, holding a broom, instead of sitting in some boardroom. Lucas swept and smiled. Because now I don't need a boardroom. I don't need shares. I just need to know what's for dinner, and if it's going to rain tomorrow morning. Lucy paused, watching him. Do you regret it? Lucas set the broom down and turned to her. You know something? My whole life I lived in a fake castle. Fake walls, fake affection. I thought I'd collapse when I left. But it turns out, only when I started living honestly did I realize. I was actually breathing. Lucy smiled softly. You've really changed. Lucas shook his head, his gaze firm. Not changed. I just began. That night, the 3 of them had dinner under soft yellow light. On the table, pumpkin soup, cornbread, and a grilled fish dish gifted by Ethan, the old carpenter, from the neighboring village. He said, So, has the kid Lucas learned how to grill fish yet? Lucy read the message, laughing. Lucas rolled up his sleeves. Tonight I'll prove to Mr. Ethan I can. Loser does the dishes. Franklin laughed so hard he coughed. First time in years I've heard this much laughter at dinner. Lucas poured him a glass of water. From now on, Every meal will have laughter. I promise. Franklin looked at him, voice choked, "You've stepped out of the shadows. This house isn't a place to hide, it's a place to live." A week later, while Lucas and Daniel were rebuilding the wooden fence around the garden, Lucy got a phone call. "Lucy Moore. This is Christina, a reporter with the Daily Chronicle. I'd like to confirm a few things regarding the Bennett case." Lucy stepped out of earshot from Mr. Franklin, her voice lowered. "I don't work for them anymore. Anything legal related, contact attorney Mark Gibson. We're aware." But as of yesterday, the Investigative Bureau officially confirmed that the Bennett Group used falsified documents to block biological relatives from regaining custody of children, including the case of Lucas Benson. Lucy froze. "They're under official investigation now?" "Yes. And according to internal sources, both Albert and Carolyn Bennett have been temporarily barred from leaving the country." Lucy exhaled. "Thank you. But I won't be making any further comments." She hung up, looking toward Lucas as he laughed with Daniel. Inside, a feeling passed through her light, like a breeze after a long storm. That evening, Lucas sat writing a letter. The lamp glowed softly. On the desk, a blank page, slanted handwriting. "Dear Mom Anna. If you can read these words, then I've come back. Not to reclaim the past, but to begin something more truthful. I've torn down the Bennett empire. And I've rebuilt a small wooden home with morning tea, and Grandpa's laughter each afternoon. I don't need an empire. I need to know I was truly loved." He folded the letter and placed it beneath his mother's photo. Lucy walked in from the kitchen, carrying 2 cups of hot cocoa. "What are you writing?" she asked. "A letter to my mom. She can't read it. But I needed to say it." Lucy sat beside him. "We're not building a castle. We're building a life." Lucas nodded. "A life real enough that someone can sit beside you without having to say a word." The next morning, as the sun rose, Mr. Franklin stood at the front door, hand resting on the framed photo. "Anna gave me a son." Lucas stepped out, handing him a scarf. "And I promise to care for you, just as you once cared for her." Franklin chuckled. "No promises needed. Just keep making tea each morning." On the fence by the yard, Lucas hung a small sign that read, "No power here. Only truth." And for the first time after years of manipulation and masks, he felt truly at peace. A gentle late autumn afternoon. The breeze rustled through trees, carrying the scent of fresh grass and golden light. Lincoln Park, once the setting for sad memories, had become a place where Lucas Benson pushed his grandfather's wheelchair every evening. "You cold?" Lucas asked, gently adjusting the wool scarf over Mr. Franklin's shoulders. "No, son." He shook his head with a soft smile. "Today's sunshine feels different." Lucas nodded. "Not harsh. Not too bright. Like someone who's learned to soften after a lifetime of being harsh." Franklin chuckled. "You talking about yourself?" "Maybe." Lucas laughed. "I used to think strength and sharpness were how you earned respect. But I was wrong. It's only when you learn to soften that you can reach the things that truly matter." Franklin took his grandson's hand and gave it a light squeeze. "I'm proud of you, Lucas." They looked out across the park, children playing near the pond, elders reading newspapers on benches, and a street artist sketching with charcoal on the sidewalk. Lucas exhaled slowly. "You know, today the court officially approved the investigation into the Bennett family's forged adoption documents. Starting next week, they'll be summoned to court." Franklin closed his eyes, nodding. "Justice may come late, but it's still justice. Both of them are being hunted by the press now. Investors are pulling out fast. The company's lost nearly 60% of its value in just 3 months. Maybe that's the price they had to pay. No one has the right to build an empire by stepping on family." Lucas was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Still, they did raise me." Franklin nodded slowly. "Maybe so. But without love, it's not family. They gave you a wealthy life, but not a root." Lucas sat beside the wheelchair. "You gave me roots. Not with money, with truth." The two men looked at each other. A long silence. But not a heavy one. The kind of silence only shared by those truly connected. That night, in the little wooden house, Lucy prepared dinner. She wore an apron, calling out from the kitchen. "You know, someone sent a letter today from Haven Grove Center. They said your mother's file had been kept there but was internally removed by a foundation funded by the Bennetts." Lucas nodded, slicing vegetables at the table. "I figured. They scrubbed everything clean. So no one could trace my origins." Lucy brought the tray of food out, setting it on the table. "But now it's all coming back. And there's a 6-year-old boy recently rescued from a similar case. I think I want to adopt him." Lucas froze. "Really?" "Yes." Lucy sat down, her eyes glowing. "No need for blood. Just love. I think I could be a good mom." Lucas took her hand. "I'll be there. We'll start everything from scratch. No child should grow up in lies like I did." Lucy nodded, her eyes misting. A week later, Lucas took Mr. Franklin back to the hospital for a checkup. Dr. Catherine Owens greeted them in the lobby. "The good news is no more bleeding. The bad news is, he needs complete rest. His heart's getting weak." Franklin smiled lightly. "As long as you don't make me lie still all day." Lucas held his hand. "If I have to sleep next to your bed every night, I'll do it." Catherine looked at Lucas, her eyes warm. "You really have changed. I used to hear your name followed by words like cold or ruthless. Now you're just a grandson who makes tea." Lucas smiled. "Thanks to him." Franklin shook his head. "No. Thanks to you, for believing you deserved to live honestly." By the end of the month, Lucas received an invitation to speak at a community conference on children's rights. The night before his speech, he sat in the living room, writing under a desk lamp. Franklin watched him, holding a cup of hot tea. "What are you planning to say?" he asked. Lucas read from the page. "I once lived in a house that was wide but cold. I once had wealth but no identity. I once had everything, except a real name. And when I got it back, I lost everything else. But strangely enough, that was the first time I truly began to live." Franklin nodded silently. After a while, he spoke softly. "I won't live forever. But I'm at peace, because I've found you again." Lucas bowed his head, tears falling. "You still have me. And I'll pass this story on to other children, like the one I once was." The next morning, Lucas pushed his wheelchair through the park, the same place he had taken Franklin just a week before. The early sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting a golden glow on the old man's peaceful face. Lucy walked beside them, carrying a basket of pastries and a bouquet of lilies. "Are we really having a picnic here?" Lucas nodded. "There's no better place. This is where we started over." The three of them sat under the old tree. Lucas opened the basket and took out a photograph of his mother, his grandfather, and himself as a child reprinted in crisp detail. He handed it to Franklin. Below the photo frame, Lucas had engraved the words, "Truth does not destroy. Truth sets free." Franklin looked at the picture for a long time. His hands trembled. But he didn't cry. He spoke slowly, "Thank you, for not letting the truth die with Anna." Lucas squeezed his hand. "I promise. I'll keep it alive." Lucy handed him the flowers. "Lilies. The kind your mother loved." Franklin inhaled gently. Smells just like the bouquets she used to arrange every Sunday morning. The three of them sat quietly, saying nothing more. The sun had climbed high, its light shining directly onto the photo placed before them. The story is a powerful reminder that power, money, and fame can never replace truth and family. Lucas had to give up an entire empire to reclaim his origins, love, and true self. The profound lesson is this: living in lies, no matter how dazzling, is still a cage with no escape. Only by facing the past and choosing truth can a person truly be free to love, to connect, and to live with meaning.
If you enjoyed this story, we invite you to give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Your support motivates us to keep bringing heartwarming stories almost every day. We are very grateful for your support. See you soon.